Business Matters. The title suggests many things. The important issue is the world revolves around business, society, organizations, individuals, and even religion survives and thrives because of business. Business has to encompass not just financial commodity and service transactions. It has also to include welfare, justice, empowerment, environmental, and other issues too. Every week, Business Matters will delve into aspects of business that impact our lives. We will seek out extraordinary and ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Facilitators, educators, and entrepreneurs will be invited to inspire and enlighten our listeners. Join Anwar Moolla for an interactive show and find out what really matters in business.
نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. If it's Tuesday night and it's 20 to 9, then it has to be the Business Matters program on Radio Al Ansar. Yes, you with me, Anwar Moolla, and you're going to be with me for the next 50 minutes or so with another very exciting guest in the studio. And before I introduce him, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Imraan. Imraan, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, and such a lovely evening tonight. I don't know if it's Abdul's shot or just the fact that we have such a full studio.
Okay, lovely. That brings us to introducing our guest, and his name is Naeem Aswat, very popular figure in Durban, I may add. Naeem is the regional head for KZN for SAICA, SAICA being the acronym for South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. Naeem, assalamu alaikum and welcome to Radio Al Ansar, and thanks for giving up your Tuesday evening and being in the studio with us.
Assalamu alaikum to our viewers, and also Jazakallah for the opportunity to having me on the radio station this evening.
Okay, Naeem, I see you got a full support crew with you in the studio this evening. So 3 young boys, you want to introduce them by name?
Yeah. I've got my 3 sons here. I've got Zakaria, who's 12 years old. I've got Muhammad, who's 10. And I've got my baby Yahya, who's also with me, and who are my greatest supporters.
Okay. Lovely to have them in the studio, and thanks for bringing them along as well. So we welcome them to the studio. Naeem, getting into the gist of today's program, we're going to talk about business emergency rescue. But before getting there, you have a very responsible position as the regional head of SAICA. So we're going to have to ask you to tell us a little bit about your background, your early life, and how you, got involved with SAICA and have basically in the position you are now.
So I'll start off with my background, and I was born and brought up in Ladysmith, schooled in Ladysmith, and came to Durban to study. I studied a BCom accounting degree, and thereafter did my postgraduate diploma in accounting. Once I completed that, I started my traineeship with the then KMMT, which has changed to KPMG. Served my articles there, and I stayed on to become a senior manager for almost 10 years at KPMG, traversing the audit and accounting and tax spectrum, doing all services including forensics, business advisory, to internal audit, external audit, and yes, for all of those who don't like this one, the box job capturing of invoices.
Okay.
So I did all of that, traversing all around. One of my last assignments is where I was a CFO for iTalk Cellular on a secondment basis.
Okay, lovely background. And then tell us a little bit about SAICA itself, the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants.
So the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants is a membership body of all chartered accountants. So in order to call yourself a chartered accountant, you have to be a member of SAICA. If you are not a member, you cannot call yourself a chartered accountant.
Okay.
But there is a rigorous process in which you go through in order to qualify as a chartered accountant, though.
Okay, well, I know it takes many, many years of studies and board exams and all of that. So, and then when that final result comes through and you've passed, it's a celebration in anybody's life to be regarded as a chartered accountant. Alhamdulillah, you've got there. What made you get involved on a deeper level with SAICA?
When I was at KPMG, I was actually headhunted for the regional executive position at SAICA.
Okay.
And the interesting part is when I was headhunted, I didn't even have a CV ready at that point in time. It was basically a 2-page work CV, of which the headhunter said, send it and I'll see what I will do.
Okay.
And the rest is history. I've now been at SAICA now for as the regional executive for the last 14 years.
Wow.
And as I tell my boss, there are no 2 days that are the same, and every day is a challenge and every day is an interesting day for me.
Okay, before we get into the gist of today's topic, from a SAICA perspective, are they a support body for chartered accountants, or what is the day-to-day role of SAICA?
So there's various functions that SAICA performs. One is, as you mentioned, it is a support function to chartered accountants, and chartered accountants in all spheres of the profession, of the business world, from a technical point of view as well as from a business point of view. It's also quasi-regulatory in a sense, where we do have our disciplinary procedures and disciplinary processes that chartered accountants should adhere to a code of conduct.
Right.
And should they not adhere to the code of conduct and there's breach, there are disciplinary consequences to that.
Okay. So would you, in a way, call SAICA a watchdog body as well, watching over the chartered accountants?
Well, you could say so in a sense.
Okay. Okay, we're talking about tonight about specifically about the Business Emergency Rescue Initiative, something initiated by SAICA. And why did SAICA undertake this particular initiative, the Business Emergency Rescue Initiative?
So the SAICA Business Emergency Rescue Initiative is a very interesting one. It was conceptualized by the Eastern region of SAICA and its council as to a way as to how we can support businesses that were very impacted and badly affected by the rioting and the looting and the unrest that we experienced in July. And the main focus of that is how can we as a profession play a role in rebuilding the economy? How can we assist business? And that's the premise of which we have worked on.
Okay, I mean, obviously, you guys as chartered accountants, you'll crunch numbers, and what has been the impact on the economy, if we may ask?
The impact on the economy has been quite staggering. So let me just share with you some numbers, and I think once we get into the numbers and understand the numbers, we can understand the economic impact to this. From an economic point of view, the impact on the economy, just alone the eThekwini municipality economy, was 20 billion rand.
20 billion rand.
Staggering.
A staggering amount of 20 billion rand.
Okay.
Now, further to that, when we break this down and we try and understand the other impacts as well, from a stock loss point of view, and this research was done by the provincial government, the Department of Economic Development, and they shared with us the information. 1.5 million homes will be without income.
1.5 million homes without income. Yeah,
due to the unrest, specifically the unrest. 1.5 billion rand loss of stock, 15 billion rand damage to property.
Wow.
Now, those are huge numbers to contend with. And when we look at those sort of numbers, it's very hard to try and fathom how are we going to rebuild and how is this economy going to come out of this situation. But let me share with you another interesting statistic. Did you know that for every hour that the N3 is closed between Durban and Gauteng, it costs the economy 1 million rand an hour. So for those 5 days that the N3 was closed, it actually cost the economy 120 million rand.
Okay.
In the lack of transport of goods.
In the lack of transport of goods, and I think this is the knock-on effect, because the goods need to flow to Joburg. fuel needs to get, and they need to get sold. So the down run economic impact is 120 million rand just for those 5 days of just having the N3 closed alone.
Okay.
Taking it back a little bit, the staggering amount of 20 billion rand, the effect on the local economy. Any insight as to what portion of that is going to be put back into the economy in the form of insurance payouts, and perhaps what percentage has already made its way back?
The amounts that have been shared by SAICA, I think up to about 2 weeks ago, claims to the tune of about 14 billion rand have been put through. So there are still claims that are being still quantified. The damage is still being assessed. The assessors are working around the clock to try and get those numbers or try and get the claims sorted out as well.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people waiting for that money to filter through, and then hopefully it'll be a good boost to the local economy with that money coming through.
No, definitely. I think the boost is when we start to rebuild. And I think the most important and the crux of this is how we as the profession had to play a role in rebuilding the economy. Everything in KZN surrounds the economy. And if that is not moving and no trade is happening, it's going to have a huge impact on job losses.
Absolutely.
Now, from a job loss point of view, what's being quantified by the Department of Economic Development is at risk 150,000 jobs alone.
That's massive.
Just eThekwini municipality only.
That's massive. And 150,000 jobs, assuming each job feeds 4 or 5 people, that's you almost 1 million people with perhaps no food.
So that's why I mentioned earlier the 1.5 million rand. The 1.5 million households with potentially no income, and I think this then becomes a humanitarian crisis.
Absolutely.
Okay, so following on that, and the numbers are quite staggering, and thanks for highlighting them. The Business Emergency Rescue Initiative. Talk to us a little bit about what does it entail? How does a person go about it, and what type of support? It sounds great, Business Emergency Rescue Initiative, and we know lots and lots of people have had their businesses completely wiped out, either by COVID or by the looting, or a combination of the two. So where does SAICA come in, and what type of support do you all lend?
So Anwar, before I answer that question, just to get back to the economy, and then I can place this into context
okay.
as to the rest of the program. It is estimated that 50,000 informal traders have been affected. 40,000 formal businesses have been affected. Now, when we look at that number and we try and understand how did that number come about, we must understand the value chain from the manufacturer, from the supplier, all the way to the consumer. So all those businesses in that value chain have been quantified, and these are the numbers that come through. So what we had thought was, how can we help the economy? How can we play a role in supporting the economy, rebuilding and reigniting the economy? And we came up with a number of initiatives, and one of the initiatives was the Business Emergency Room, which I'll share a little bit of information about that.
Sounds like a hospital, Business Emergency Room. Yeah. So anyhow, yeah.
Yes. So the concept is very much simple to understand. It's like it's like a trauma unit. Somebody gets hurt, they break their arm, they go in, they see a doctor who patches them up and says, you need to see the orthopedic surgeon.
Right.
So similar to that is the Business Emergency Room. And the Business Emergency Room concept is basically where we are going out to businesses and offering a free and complimentary services to businesses, where if they're in distress, near distress, or even business rescue as a result of the unrest, as the result of COVID-19, lots of businesses have taken a knock, and especially the hospitality industry has taken a knock. And this is where we say, with our skill set, what can we do to help business? And in that regard, what we have done is we have assembled over 180 experts in different fields, in different aspects of business, who are volunteering their time to advise businesses.
Okay. Are these all chartered accountants?
Most of them are chartered accountants. Some of them are HR practitioners. Some of them are lawyers as well. And some of them are business coaches.
Okay.
So a well-rounded set of skills which is needed to advise a business on its way forward. So if we could just get into it a little bit. So a small business or a medium enterprise walks through the door and says, COVID combined with the looting, it's absolutely killed us, and we need some advice onto how to take this forward. The procedure from there will, I suppose, you will request some documents from the business and then start filtering through whether it's sustainable, going concern or not, and then give your advice to the business, which they then have to implement on their own.
Right. That's quite correct in terms of the thought process around it. But if I can just get into a little bit more detail and just share with the viewers exactly what will happen. So I will share the mailbox address of which any businesses who require that help, they can drop us an email and we will send them a link.
That's great.
Where they can apply to be on the program. And what we will do is based on their need. And as you quite rightly said, as an example, they are very much affected by COVID. They're very much affected by looting. The whole shop is burned down. How do I start? So from an expert point of view, what we will do is that we will match them to a proper expert who will then advise them what they should do and the next steps that they should do.
All right.
So they will coach them, and it's a free complimentary service for 2 hours of a consultant expert's time, and there's various different aspects of which they will consult on. So as an example, looking at accessory claims.
Right.
So we do have experts on our panel who can advise on accessory claims and tell them what they need to do. And we've also got insurance agents as well that are also part of the panel, where we can refer them to those sort of people that are there. But other interesting things is that when you look at business strategy, you look at business modeling, a lot has been discussed about what do I do with my business in an uncertain time. I don't know what to do. And these are the sort of questions that we face on a daily basis is, I don't know where to start.
Okay.
And one of the things what I advise and I say is that you've got to do some introspection first. And most certainly the first jump is, I don't have money. Where do I get this money
The first
from?
hurdle.
The first thing. And most definitely that is quite a challenge. And this is where there are many funding agencies that are out there that have put together these packages to help businesses. So as an example, IDC.
They have some.
They're helping an enormous amount of people or other businesses, and some of these applications are getting approved in like 3 days.
That's fantastic.
So we can share those details as soon as I share the mailbox. You can drop us a mail.
If you just join us, it's the Minara Business Matters program on Radio Al Ansar, and we've been chatting to Naeem Aswat, who is a chartered accountant and the KwaZulu National basically executive of the SAICA, which is the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. And we'll be talking about SAICA's Business Emergency Rescue Initiative. And Naeem's been talking through us how it works, and we're going to delve further into the initiative, which I think is a fantastic initiative. Thank you, Naeem, for initiating that. And the number in the studio, if there's any questions you want to throw at Naeem, 0861 904 904. If you want to WhatsApp us any questions, it's 060 904 1056. And I repeat that, 060 904 1056. If there's any questions you want to ask Naeem Aswat, our esteemed guest in the studio tonight. Naeem, we're talking a bit about the process of kind of accessing the business emergency rescue room, so to see. So you want to just take us in terms of a person is kind of finding he's not winning. He's been affected by COVID. His business is suffering. Looting has come in. It's caused a double whammy. So he gets hold of Seika and he says to you, right, guys, I got a problem. I need your help. And that's what you're there for. You spoke about 180 volunteers that have come on board, and we thank them all for having given of their time and valuable time that is to get involved with the Seika initiative. Where to from there?
Just to share with you the process of how this works from the initiation, and if I can take this opportunity to share a mailbox address,
sure,
that businesses could drop us an email, and we will forward a link to them to complete. It's a very simple application form. It is basically about the business, what's the business about, and what specific help they need, and what they've identified as their issue. So the mailbox is one word, Eastern Region, one word, Eastern Region at SAICA.co.za.
So it's fairly simple, Eastern Region at SAICA.co.za. Okay, the problem with most organizations, and to be brutal honest, is people get caught in red tape, and time is of the essence. When a person is literally drowning, business is drowning, clutching at straws, he needs help, but he needs help now. How long does this process take? From the time he sends through his so-called application, how soon would you reach out to him?
So from the process point of view, once the application comes through and it follows the completion process, we cannot accept any applications that are incomplete. Right. So it's basic business information that they need to put
sure.
into that application, and then the turnaround time is that the applications, or rather the matching with an expert, will happen now on a weekly basis.
Okay.
So as the applications do come in on a weekly basis, we will do the matching, and this is where the consultations between the expert and the business will happen shortly thereafter.
Okay.
And I believe it's of paramount importance that all applications are completed concisely and all the relevant documents sent through, as it's a very limited time that you get with your subject matter expert.
Yes, correct. So the limited time period this is where the chartered accountants have been volunteering their time, and there's a 2-hour limit on the consultation, right, which is free of charge again. Right. If you have to go out and procure that service, it can cost you.
It can run up a hefty bill, especially for a company that's on dire straits.
Yes, correct.
Naeem, another part to the business emergency room that we haven't touched on yet is the massive humanitarian side to it. Do you want to talk us through a little bit about that?
So there's a number of factors when we looked at what role can we play as a profession. And apart from the utilization of our skill set, we also thought of partnering with a Gift of the Givers, and I think that needs no introduction, or
sure,
it needs no expansion on who Gift of the Givers are. And I think this is where we're providing our members an opportunity to donate financially and monetarily to a very, very worthy cause. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the number of households that will not have any income, it is very soon becoming a humanitarian crisis. In another few months' time, the situation will be very much exacerbated. And we thought that we will be preemptive and we'll be proactive by partnering with someone that's local, that understands KZN, and therefore we chose Gift of the Givers to partner with. And with that partnering is where our members will donate. We are even asking corporates to donate as well to Gift of the Givers, and we can share those details with you as well. And this is where the implementation partner on the humanitarian side will be Gift of the Givers.
Okay, Naeem, but you're partnering with Gift of the Givers. Would there be any recognition of the fact that these monies came from Seika or people that are affiliated to Seika? And what type of I wouldn't say benefit, but what type of recognition would there be for Seika, so to speak, from these donations?
We seek no recognition on this. This is purely a humanitarian. This is we're helping society. This is helping the downtrodden. So we don't seek any recognition with any humanitarian work. To identify the donations that have been made, the reference that needs to be put in, and it will be a donation directly to Gift of the Givers. So it's not a donation to us that we will then pass on. So it's a donation directly to Gift of the Givers, and a simple reference that needs to be put in there is SAICA, SAICA /BER, and that will identify as such from who it's coming from a SAICA member or from a corporate or anyone.
Regarding the usage of the donations, will it be used in a very specific manner or just for Gift of the Givers to do the phenomenal work that they're already doing?
So it's pretty much simple. Food is a daily essential.
All right.
And I think this is what we're targeting, and we're saying, how can we help those that really need it the most? And there's a lot of people who cannot afford to buy basic stuff, basic food stuff. And
Absolutely.
This is aimed at them. And Gift of the Givers, with their network and their understanding and the work that they do, is phenomenal. And they know exactly who to give it to and what they need to do.
All right.
Okay, great. Name the other initiatives that SAICA has undertaken, and I see there's something here regarding engaging with SARS. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So SAICA has also been proactively engaging with SARS with regards to the issues that tax practitioners will face, with regards to issues of which businesses will face.
Regarding the looting specifically?
Regarding the looting specifically. Yeah. And some of the engagement that we had was with regards to, what if my documents are missing? What if they are burnt? How do I do this?
Yes.
So there is a process, and I don't want to go into that full detail.
Right, okay. We'll probably get you here on another program to do that. But
You know, more than welcome. It'll be a pleasure to talk about that. And those challenges there. So we anticipated what these challenges were going to be. We then engaged with SARS, and we have come out with a guide as well to guide businesses, to guide tax practitioners on these issues that they will be facing. So as another example to that is, I've submitted my VAT return. It's gone for audit. I don't have the documentation because my premises has been burnt down. I don't have any backups because I had my computer system there. I don't have anything physical. What do I do? So this is, again, a technical discussion, which I think if we go into that, we might not get to all the other stuff of what we're doing. So suffice it to say is that engagement with SARS, they understand.
So they
our
understand the
situation.
implications of the problem.
It's a reality, and I'm glad that coming from SAICA, you guys have fought for businesses out there, and SARS is realizing that it is a reality on the ground. People lost all forms of records. They've lost their livelihoods and records, and you got to be realistic about the situation.
Yep.
No, of course, definitely.
I see another initiative is what you call an economic recovery conference. I love the terms you use. I mean, really, maybe in your previous life you were a medical doctor or something, but everything revolves around recovery and all of this. So, but really, whoever put these terms together, they've done a great job. So, this economic recovery conference, tell us a little bit about that.
So the economic recovery conference was just a start of a conversation.
Right.
And the start of the conversation is, where are we right now? What is the impact on the economy, and what needs to be done, and what role that we can play? And Anwar, if I can share with you, we've had speakers from a political point of view. Justice Malala, as an example. We had Stephen Kossoff, the founder of Investec Bank.
Right.
Nigel Ward, he's the executive vice president of Toyota South Africa.
Some big names.
To lend their view on the local economy and the political situation, the socio-political situation. And in that conversation was looking forward. And one of the biggest things that came out from there was how confident are foreign investors in the KZN economy? How confident are domestic investors in the KZN economy? And I think those are the questions that are being asked and need to be answered. So this is just the start of the conversation. one very interesting thing that came out from that conversation, from that conference, was a poll that was put through to our viewers, and it asked the question: what would provide you the confidence to invest in KZN?
Right.
And right on the top that came out was political stability.
Wow.
Political stability, and followed very closely by safety of capital. So again, safety and security that comes there, political stability, what reforms that need to happen. These are the things that businesses, or rather investors, are looking for.
So from a SAICA perspective, are you taking this to a higher level? Are you engaging with the politicians and the government and giving them this type of feedback? Because really, at the end of the day, the buck stops with them.
Yes, correct. So the plan is, this was fairly recent,
Right.
and these engagements with government will be happening,
Okay.
and we will be getting to the right decision makers. For example, DTI, Treasury, etc. All of these play a role in what we call structural economic reform, and looking at the environment of which business operates in. So these are the conversations that we will be having with government as part of our thought leadership process.
So it's very interesting that you touched on this topic. Just last week on the show, we had Russell Curtis from Invest Durban, and he painted a glamorous picture, as I suppose he is meant to do, about the exciting opportunities that KZN has to offer and the new projects that will be coming to the KZN coastline mainly. He also said that structural reform is going to be driven by the private sector going forward, because it's the private sector's capital that's at stake. And there's going to be meaningful engagement via Invest Durban with the leaders in the various positions, be it Treasury, be it municipality, be it the ward councillors, etc., to hold them accountable for what's going on, be it political or social economic circumstances in the regions. And I sincerely hope that SAICA can join the conversation and hold them accountable.
So definitely will. So there's two things. What we must understand is that you look at the local economy being one, and you look at the national economy. And the focus area is the national economy, which will encapsulate the local economy
Correct.
as well. And the economic reforms need to come from a national point of view.
All right.
And this is where I said the engagements need to happen at a national level with the decision makers, and even taking these some of these conversations right up to the presidency.
Yeah, because ultimately that's where it's guided from, and if he shows strength and he shows that there is something to rebuild, we'll get the foreign direct investment and the people will stand together.
Indeed.
So, Naeem, I take it you're not looking for a passport for another country, not for a while.
No. There's still, I still believe in my heart of hearts that KZN, especially Durban, has an immense amount of potential from an investor point of view. Certain things that need to be sorted out, that need to stabilize, and most definitely we can see the province soar.
Okay, Naeem, we've got a few minutes left. And before we round up the program, I love these terms that you use, and one of them is what they call emotional resilience sessions. I mean, really, you must have been in the medical field before you became a chartered accountant, somewhere along. But anyway, tell us a little bit about this emotional resilience sessions.
So this is part of the Business Emergency Rescue Initiative. It is one of the projects. What we must understand is that COVID has played an immense negative part and has a negative impact on the mental well-being of everyone.
Right, yeah.
Look at it, be it any professional, irrespective of where you are, what type of profession you have been affected in some way or another. Mental wellness, as an example, it costs the global economy about $1 trillion a year in lack of productivity, low productivity, absenteeism, and what we call presenteeism, which is you're there but you're not doing anything.
But you're not there, right.
You're not doing anything. It costs $1 trillion. This is globally.
Right.
It has affected number of professions. Now, what we have done here for our members, and I think we can't reach out to everyone, But we have specifically for chartered accountants and the associates, we've made available counseling sessions free of charge to members who require psychological support, who require mental support, where they can phone a qualified psychologist, they can have a conversation with them, and of course the professional will then guide them as to what they need to do next. So this is just in one of the ways of what we are trying to help our members to be more productive citizens.
Okay.
Phenomenal initiative. Mental health is one of the buzzwords all over social media and in the workplace at the moment, for various reasons. So I'm glad, as an encompassing package, there is some mental health awareness that SAICA is offering as well.
No, of course, definitely. We've been asked, but why are you doing something that is not in your field?
Yes.
But the engagements of what we've had with our members, with the profession, with business, is the effects of mental health. A lot of them have been traumatized. Yeah. Traumatized by the unrest. They have been very negatively affected by COVID. All of these things put together, it does make someone not very well. And there is a distinction between mental illness and mental well-being. And I'm not going to get into that specific detail there. What we have also done from a SAICA perspective is that we are running this mental wellness check-in webcast every month. We have been running it from February, and this is a way that we've got a qualified psychologist, and she's actually based here in Durban. She's a sports psychologist, but absolutely phenomenal person, and having this conversation going about mental wellness. And what can we do to cope with stress, with anxiety, with depression? How can we attend to those issues that people feel on a personal basis? It is something that is intangible, and it's not as easy as going to the doctor and say, I broke my arm.
Correct.
These things
don't
manifest in different ways. You don't see it, but these are the effects. And why we are looking at this is that if you do not have a mentally well employee who's not productive, they are not adding to the economy. They are not being economically relevant. They are not being economically productive. And we've got to look at the whole self. We've got to look at it from all angles. We've got to look at mental wellness for what it is. And the biggest issue that I can share with you is the stigma that is attached to this.
Sure.
And we need to destigmatize. We need to have these conversations about mental wellness. And the more that we have these conversations to destigmatize and remove that idea that if I seek help for a mental wellness issue, there's something wrong with me. Not necessarily.
Not at all.
Not absolutely.
Okay, Naeem, we've got literally a minute and a half left. I want to ask you to share with us maybe one or two success stories that you've had through the Business Emergency Rescue Initiative.
All right. So we've run a few iterations of this. One of the success stories that I'll share with you is an agri-business that applied for assistance, but looking for specific assistance. And if I tell you that the turnover was 2 billion rand, he could have easily afforded going to a consultant, but he was looking for something specific, and he came to us and says, help me with this. And it was in his agri-business diversification. And fortunate enough, we had in our panel an expert on that. And we paired him up. The feedback that we got from him was absolutely stark, raving phenomenal. He was really, really happy with it. So this is just one of those examples. And there's many examples that we have received feedback from businesses that have thanked us for doing this initiative, for undertaking this initiative, and they have actually succeeded in their business. They've changed the way that they do business. They've listened to the advice of the expert, and they are now on the right track. So
that's great to hear.
Naeem Aswad, thanks for joining us once again. It's been absolutely wonderful chatting to you. Imraan, you...
Following in the father's footsteps, one of Naeem's youngsters has a shout-out for someone listening tonight.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone, and today I want to shout out to my mother who's listening to Radio Al Ansar. Jazakallah.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Naeem, yeah, we thank you for being here with your support crew, so to speak. And we're going to get you back in to speak about more specifics, inshallah, in the future. At the moment, I know you got your hands full. The looting issue is still very current, and the real issues are coming through now. And all we have to say is we congratulate you on these various initiatives that SAICA is undertaking. So it's not just sitting back and waiting for things to happen, but it's being proactive and making things happen, which is really great. And we wish you every success in your future and in SAICA's future. So Jazakallah, and thanks for being here.
Inshallah. Jazakallah for the opportunity, Anwar. Really appreciate it. And thanks, Imraan, as well.
Shukran, absolute pleasure.
For the wonderful time.
Okay, excellent. So with that, it's the end of the program. It's wassalamu alaikum from us. Imraan and I off to Cape Town for a few days tomorrow on some work-related issues. But inshallah, we will be back before next week, Tuesday, to be back at the studio and have another exciting guest for the program. And yeah, I think, Imraan, the last 2 weeks have been quite phenomenal.
Exciting guests. We bounced back strong from COVID.
Yeah.
And exciting guests, and we look forward to the next one.
Inshallah. With that is wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.